Take a moment to breathe in and out. Now listen carefully. There comes a time in a woman's life when she must choose silence, not because she has nothing to say, but because what she carries inside has outgrown the need to be understood by those who refuse to listen. This message is not just for the ears, it is for the soul. It is for the woman who has been disrespected, dismissed, and still chose not to scream, not because she was weak, but because she was rising. There is a power that does not shout. There is a strength that does not shake the ground, but steadies it. There is a woman who walks away quietly, and that silence echoes louder than any words ever could. If you have ever felt disrespected, unrecognized, or unseen, if you've ever struggled with how to respond, how to protect your peace, then I invite you to stay here, to listen, not just with your mind, but with your heart. Because the words you're about to hear, they are not about revenge. They are not about ego. They are about awakening. And when a woman awakens, she no longer chases apology. She becomes the consequence. Stay with me till the end. Not for noise, but for clarity, not to react, but to understand. And once you understand, you will never respond to disrespect the same way again. When a woman chooses silence after being disrespected, it is often misunderstood. People assume she has nothing to say, that she's retreating, or worse, that she's tolerating it. But what they fail to see is the depth of wisdom within that silence. A silence that does not come from fear, but from clarity. She knows exactly what happened. She felt it deeply. And yet, she decides not to lower herself to the level of explaining her value to someone who has already shown they cannot see it. This is not weakness. This is strength of the highest order. To remain quiet in the face of disrespect requires inner control. It is far easier to react, to shout back, to demand recognition or apology. That would be the natural impulse. But the woman who has walked a long path inward knows that not every action requires a reaction. Not every offense deserves her energy. She has learned that her peace is too precious to be thrown into battle with someone who does not honor it. So instead, she becomes still, not passive, but purposeful. Her silence is not the absence of a response. It is the presence of power. The world will often try to provoke the emotional response, added the martyred to Geratio. It thrives on reaction. But the moment a woman chooses silence, she is not giving in. She is rising above. It takes tremendous strength to observe, to witness, and then to say nothing, to protect her heart from unnecessary chaos, to remove herself from the noise and enter stillness. Real. In that space, she becomes untouchable because silence is not emptiness. Silence is space, and space is what allows reflection, healing, and transformation. The woman who grows through pain learns that her quietness is not void. It is filled with understanding, boundaries, and decisions. It is filled with the wisdom to walk away rather than stay and argue her worth. She no longer seeks approval. She recognizes herself, and in doing so, she does not need to explain herself to anyone who chose to disrespect her. She lets her silence speak for her. And what does her silence say? Told you. It says, I saw what you did. I understood what it meant. And I've decided that your words, your actions, your presence no longer deserve access to me. Without drama, without confrontation, just distance, just silence, just strength. The kind of strength that doesn't need to be loud to be heard. When someone disrespects you, the way you respond should reflect who you are, not who they are. A woman who knows her value does not let someone else's lack of awareness pull her out of alignment. Instead of reacting impulsively, she pauses. She understands that her reaction is not just a moment, it's a message. And when that message is silenced, it tells the world, I am not here to entertain disrespect, to react with anger, shouting, or desperation. This is what the world expects. It wants chaos. It feeds off emotional disturbance. But the woman who has matured through experience knows that peace is not given. It is chosen. And when she chooses silence after disrespect, she is choosing herself over noise. Not because she is indifferent to what was said or done, but because she refuses to become small in response to smallness. Reaction is often mistaken for power, but true power is found in restraint. The ability to feel every emotion, hurt, confusion, even betrayal, and still not let it control you. That is mastery. That is elegance. When a woman learns to respond with stillness, she's not ignoring the pain. She's rising above the place where that pain was created. She no longer allows others to dictate her energy. Disrespect is not an invitation for you to prove yourself. It is an invitation for you to protect yourself. And sometimes the most powerful way to do that is to say nothing, because not every behavior needs a reply. Some actions only need distance. Some words deserve silence, and in that silence, something incredible happens. The focus returns to you. Your energy stops leaking outward, and instead it begins to rebuild within. When a woman does not react, she is not powerless. She is measuring her response carefully. She is asking herself, does this deserve my voice? Does this deserve my peace? Is this of my peace? And most often, the answer is no. Because if someone cannot offer you basic respect, they do not deserve access to your emotional world. They do not deserve your explanation. They do not deserve your fire. The more deeply you know yourself, the less you feel the need to respond to provocation. Your silence becomes a reflection of your growth. You are not avoiding the situation. You are rising above it. You are not cold. You are clear. You are not afraid. You are selective. And when that clarity guides your response, you will notice something. The people who truly value you never put you in a position to choose silence. They never speak in a way that makes you feel small. But those who do will hear nothing back, and in that nothing they will feel everything. Silence has a strange way of confronting people with themselves. When a woman decides not to respond after being disrespected, she takes away the distraction. There's no noise, no argument, no chaos to hide behind, just stillness. And in that stillness, something begins to echo. Not her voice, but their actions. When you don't react, the only thing left for the other person to hear is what they did. And more often than not, that echo is louder than any words you could have said in response. People expect a reaction. They expect anger, tears, demands. Because when you react, it gives them a role to play. It shifts the focus. It allows them to defend, justify, or even manipulate the situation further. But when there is no reaction, just silence, it forces them to face the weight of what they've done. There's no conflict to dilute it. No noise to cover it up. Just the pure truth of their own behavior staring back at them. And in that moment, accountability begins. Silence removes the mask. It removes the performance. It holds up a mirror and says, this is who you were. This is how you acted. And the absence of your voice becomes the presence of consequence. Because there's nothing more powerful than when someone expects your reaction and receives your absence instead. That absence speaks volumes. It says, I saw enough. I heard enough. I heard enough. And I choose not to invite more of that into my space. In the beginning, they may try to provoke again. They may poke, test, and stir the waters to get something out of you, because silence for them is unsettling. But when you remain centered, when you stay quiet and do not engage, it slowly begins to dismantle their ability to control the situation. Your silence breaks their pattern. It creates space they cannot fill with excuses, space they cannot cover with charm, space that exposes everything. We show it's everything. And this is where transformation begins. Not in the noise of reaction, but in the silence of reflection. For you and for them. Because while they are left with the echo of their actions, you are left with your power intact. You didn't give it away. You didn't lower yourself to meet their chaos. You didn't hand over your energy to someone who misused it. You simply stepped back and let silence speak. And sometimes silence is the most honest reply. There is a truth that reveals itself with time. The right people will never put you in a position where you have to choose silence to protect your dignity. They won't make you shrink, question your worth, or sit quietly with pain just to keep the peace. The right people do not require you to explain why respect matters. They already understand. Their presence doesn't bring confusion. It brings clarity. And when someone does not bring clarity, when their words or actions begin to blur the lines between love and disrespect, that is not your person. That is your lesson. A woman who walks away in silence after being disrespected is not walking away in anger. She is walking toward alignment. She no longer wants to sit in rooms where her value is debated. She no longer accepts half love, half listening, half effort. She knows that true connection isn't something you beg for. It's something you recognize by how it makes you feel. Safe, seen, respected. And if she has to stay quiet to keep something alive, it means it's already dying. She doesn't do loud exits. She doesn't create scenes. She simply becomes unavailable. Her absence becomes the answer, because she knows now some doors must be closed in silence to open the ones that lead to peace. That kind of silence is not passive. It's powerful. It's her drawing a boundary without needing to announce it. It's her choosing herself, not because she is hard or distant, but because she finally understands the difference between what drains her and what feeds her spirit. When you stop entertaining disrespect, you begin attracting something different, something softer, more intentional. People who don't make you earn the bare minimum. People who speak with care, listen with presence, and hold space for your silence without demanding explanation. And the moment that kind of energy enters your life, you realize why the others had to go, why your silence was necessary, why walking away was not an end, but a beginning. You never lose by removing yourself from what dishonors you. You lose when you stay and try to reshape yourself to fit into places where you're not cherished. But a woman who has found her center no longer tolerates being misunderstood on purpose. She doesn't stay silent to keep others comfortable. She stays silent to keep herself in peace, and that peace is not negotiable. Because the right people will never make you go quiet to protect your heart. They'll speak in a way that makes your voice feel safe.